Okay, Unit 1.3 test is coming up. So circle the representations that are functions. Okay, remember functions, x cannot repeat. Okay, so if we look here, we see that this x has 2 arrows, meaning it repeats, so it is not a function. Here we have -3, +3, 9, 15, 20, 21. Okay, no x repeated, so that is a function. Here, every x only has 1 arrow, so that is a function. Here we have x is 3, 3, 4, and 4, which means it repeated, so it's not a function. We have 0, 1, 2, 3, did not repeat, so that is a function. Here we do the vertical line test, and just if I check those farthest left points right away, it touched twice, so it's not a function. Okay, if you look at number 2, it says evaluate the following equation, f of x equals 2x minus 5, and list some additional points on the table. Okay, so we're going to fill in everything we don't know, or that's not listed, by plugging our equation in, 2x minus 5. So I'm going to find where x is -2, y is -9, where y is -5, so that's this column, x is 0. Okay, what point is that? Well, x is 0, that's my y-intercept. Okay, and then I'm going to find where x is 4, y is 3. And then I'm going to find where y is 7, x is 6. And then I'm going to find where x is 13, y is 21. Okay, then we're going to dive into function notation. Remember, inside is your input, that's your x. Outside is your output, that's your y. So this is inside, so that's giving me x. So I'm going to find where x is 3, y is 1, so f of 3 equals 1. I'm going to find where x is 10, y is 15, so f of 10 equals 15. And I'm going to find f of something equals -17. So I'm looking in the y for -17. And so f of -6 is -17. And I have g of x equals 1/2 x plus 8. Okay, and I'm looking for g of 10, which is telling me x equals 10 because it's inside, so it's my input. So my x column, I'm going to look for positive 10, and it equals 13. Okay, and then here, I type this equation, 1/4 x plus 5, and I'm looking for where h of x equals 10. So that's outside, so it's my output, so y is 10. So I'm looking in this column for 10, so there's 6, 7, so I'm going to keep going down, 8, 9, 10. So x is 20. So there's 2 ways you can write x equals 20, or you can even write h of 20 equals 10. Okay, so then we're going to talk about domain and range. So just a reminder, domain is all possible x values, and range is all possible y values. Y to the sky. So this is my y-axis, this is my x-axis. Okay, so knowing that, I'm going to get some colors. Okay, it says domain. Well, domain is x's, so that's all my numbers down here. This is my x-axis. Okay, well, first off, this has a y, so I'm going to cross it out. Okay, because I'm talking about domain, which is x. I do want you to realize this is a continuous graph, and we know that because my dots are connected with a line. Remember, discrete graphs, so I'm going to put this in a bubble over here. Discrete graphs would look something like this. No lines, just dots. Okay, nothing's connected. So knowing that, I want you to realize that these are discrete answers. These, I don't know what that is, discrete answers. And since those are discrete answers, this is continuous, so they cannot be the answer to this graph. So that leaves me with 0 to 3, but if I cover up my y numbers, my graph starts farthest left here, farthest right here, which is 3. So it does go 0 to 3, so that is correct. Now range is y. Okay, this is my y-axis, and I want you to realize 0 to 3 is x, this is y, so it has to be this one, and again, the highest it does go is between 140 and 160, which is 150. The lowest it goes is 0, so this is correct. Okay, number 6 says, which is the correct domain and range for the graph? Well, it's continuous, and all my answers are continuous, so I can't cross anything off. All my domains are x, all my ranges are y, so I can't cross anything off. Okay, so let's pay attention. Domain is x. Okay, so let's, with pink, I'm going to highlight my x-axis. So I want you to realize we're going to look at the farthest left all the way to the farthest right, and it's going to be written with inequality. So it goes from -6 all the way to 2. So this is my answer. Because remember, we write at least to greatest. -6 is an open circle, that's why there's no equal to. 2 is a closed circle, that's why there is an equal to. And -4 to 1 is not big enough. Okay, so then when we look at range, that's my y. Okay, and knowing that, I'm only looking at my height. So this goes from 1 all the way down to -4. So my lowest to highest, -4 to 1. So this is my answer. Okay, so now we're going to look at these. Okay, use the equation y equals -2x minus 9, so I'm going to come here and I'm going to type it in. Okay, and I know that I need to fill in my table and graph it. So I see that this only goes from 10 to -10, x and y, so I need to find, other way, numbers in between 10 and -10. So this is my lowest point, and I'm just going to plot those. So I am going to fill some of these in. I'm going to go ahead and add one more point to my graph. So that's 0, -9, -1, -7, -2, -5, -3, -3, -4, -1, -5. Ooh, that should be +1. Sorry, y'all. Did not copy that over correctly. -5, +1. Okay, and that's enough. I go across both axes, so I'm going to go ahead and connect my dots. Okay, and knowing that, find my x-intercept. Well, I know my x-intercept is going to be between here because that's negative and that's positive. Okay, and again, it's between -4 and -5. So we're just going to say -4.5. Now, I want you to realize in our table, you can usually find this because y equals 0. X-intercept is where y equals 0. Y-intercept is where x equals 0, so I can see that one. So that's -9. Or we can write it as a point, 0, -9. Same with this one, we can write it -4.5, 0. Slope I can find from my equation. It's what's in front of x. It's my m. M equals -2, b equals -9, which is another way I could have found my y-intercept. Now, this says x equals -107. I know it's x because it's inside, so it's my input. Now, I don't want to scroll all the way to -107, so I'm going to do second window, which we talked about in class, -107 for table start, and go back to my table. So that equals 205. Now, this is telling me y equals -91 because it's outside parentheses. So I'm going to go back to 0. And I'm going to scroll to -91, which isn't too far. So that's going to be 41. Now, write a complete sentence. Y'all, there's so many different sentences you could write about this example. And it does say complete sentence. So this example is ... really anything. This example is linear. This example is decreasing. This example has a y-intercept of -9. This example has a slope of -2. I don't mind whatever you put, but you're going to have to put something that's true about this example. Let's look at example number 2. Get my calculator back. 4 minus 1/3 x. So this is in a different order, which is totally fine. I want you to realize I know my slope is in front of x. So my slope, rate of change is another word for slope, negative 1/3. I also know my y-intercept is the number without x. So my y-intercept is 4. Remember, this is where x equals 0. So it can also be written 0, 4. And that means I can also come plot that point. My y-intercept is 4. Okay, root. I want you to realize that's another word for x-intercept. That's where y equals 0. Okay, so let's look for that. I'm going to scroll back up. Actually, I'm going to cheat. Okay, so I have 0, 4, which I found, which is correct. So that gets bigger. So I'm going to plot this in there. Negative 3, 5. I'm going to skip over the ugly points and go to the next pretty point. 0, 4, 3, 3, 6, 2, 9, 1. I'm going to keep going. And it gets me to 0, 12, 0, which I cannot plot because this does not go to 12. But I needed to know that because that's my x-intercept. So 12 or 12, 0. Okay. Find f of 37. Well, x equals 37. So I'm going to go to my calculator and go to where x is 37. So that's negative 25/3. Okay, then I'm looking for negative 5/3, and this is y equals negative 5/3. So I'm going to go back to 0. I need to go to negative, so that's going to be down here. Negative 2/3, negative 4/3, negative 5/3 is at 17. Okay, now I'm going to plot these points. So I have negative 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 0, 4. I have 3, 2, 3. I have 6, 1, 2, 9, 1. And I can't see my other point at 0, 12, which is going to be somewhere over here. Okay, so I'm going to draw my line. Okay, now it says write something true. So again, this example is, again, whatever you want to say, not proportional. It's straight, but it doesn't go through the origin. This example is linear. This example is also decreasing. This example has a slope of negative 1/3. This example has a y-intercept of positive 4. You can write anything as long as it's true in a complete sentence. Now, this one's a little more tricky. You're only given 2 points. Okay, but I want you to realize you can find things with 2 points. You can find your slope. Okay, you can plot it, and then from there and find your y-intercept, so on and so forth. But you can also use stat. So remember, when you go to stat, enter, you can type points in and make your own table. So I have the point 2, negative 12, and I have the point negative 3, 3. And then I can do stat right, and it'll calculate the linear equation for me. Enter, 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 enter. Now our calculator uses a instead of m, but remember slope is m, so I know my slope is negative 3, and I know that because it's in front of x. And remember, slope is always in front of x. Now b, it also uses b for my y-intercept, so that's totally fine, and I get negative 6. Therefore, my equation is y equals negative 3x, because slope always gets x, minus 6 for my y-intercept. And now I can come here, negative 3x minus 6, and I can double check. Does it have the point negative 3, 3? Yes. Does it have the point 2, negative 12? Yes. So I went ahead and threw in my other intercept so I can see it. So I have negative 5, 9, negative 4, 6, negative 3, 3, negative 2, 0, negative 1, negative 3, 0, 6. Okay, now it says complete the table, graph the line. We did that. Now it says find the 0. Well, that's where y equals 0. It's also called my x-intercept. Okay, remember those are words for x-intercept. X-intercept is also roots, is also zeros. Okay, so my x-intercept is where y equals 0, y equals 0 and negative 2. Now again, this example is ... decreasing. It is linear. It is not proportional. It has a 0 of negative 2. It has a root of negative 2. It has an x-intercept of negative 2. However you want to word it, whatever you want to put, as long as it's true, it works. Okay, these are a little different. We've done this, but not quite like this, so it's kind of throwing a couple things at you at once, which is fine. So I want you to realize it says when given this function, what is the range? What is the y's of the function if the domain, the x's, are this? So if my x's are this, negative 5, negative 1, 0, 4, it's pretty much saying what goes here. So we're looking for the y's. So range is the list of my y's. And I'm going to type this equation in. 7x minus 9. And I'm going to find x is negative 5 is negative 44. X is negative 1. Y is negative 16. X is 0 is negative 9. And x is 4 is 19. So my range is negative 44, negative 16, negative 9, 19. Okay, so let's do another one. My equation now is 1/2 x plus 19. Okay, so it says what is the domain x when the range, the y, is this. So we have my y is 31 over 2. We have 14, we have 10, and we have 0. So we're looking for 4 numbers. And this is going to be my domain, and it's going to be a list of those 4 numbers. So 31, go that way. 31 over 2 is at negative 7. 14 is at negative 10. 10 is at negative 18. And 0 is at negative 38. Now remember, we have to go least to greatest. This is my smallest, that's my greatest. So we're going to write it backwards. Negative 38, negative 18, negative 10, negative 7. Okay, one more. For this function, again, the same one as the first one. What is the range, the y, if the domain, the x, is this? So 14, 10, 1, 0. Looking for 4 numbers. Okay, so I'm going to type that first equation back in my calculator, 7x minus 9. I'm looking for where x is 14. Ooh, sorry. X is 14, I have 89. Ooh, other way. X is 10, I have 61. X is 1 is negative 2, and 0 is negative 9. So again, least to greatest, which is this way. Not always, but this is decreasing, that's why. Barely fits, but you get it. Okay. Oh, you can't see. There you go. Okay, if you have any questions, feel free to message me on Remind. Have a great day. Test is tomorrow. Good luck. Study hard.